There is a big problem, Ben, and a very good morning to you, in this country at the moment. You and I have spoken before about the lack of sort of anything working. I mean, we've got today, just as a sort of a contents list, if you like, of the stories we're looking at, we've got a guy who rang in to say he's had 4 different appointments cancelled with the NHS. He doesn't know what to do. He said he's even thought about killing himself. He doesn't know what else to do. We've got the air traffic control system once again thrown into disarray because one person didn't turn up for work, apparently, and Gatwick was kind of thrown into complete and utter chaos. We've got Keir Starmer coming up with a new immigration plan, which is even worse, hard to believe, but even worse than the Tories one, right? which has managed to upset everybody from The Guardian to the backbenchers on the Conservative Party. We've got Lord Frost in the Telegraph this morning writing about how Britain is now in serious danger of actually losing Brexit altogether. I mean, I haven't even mentioned the trains that are going on strike again. I haven't mentioned the XL bully dogs. You know, if you're lucky, you won't get attacked by one when you walk down the street. I mean, I just don't know where to begin, really.
Law and order, for example, Sadiq Khan, he's the personification of a problem.
Oh, my God. I mean, we didn't even mention the 20-mile-an-hour zones, for God's sake.
Yeah, so where would you like me to start?
I don't know, really. I'm gonna leave it to you, Ben, because, I mean, what I'm seeing here is a sort of pattern of a lack of responsibility, a lack of any leadership, a lack of kind of solutions to problems, and we simply seem to be. I mean, if I was to make an analogy, I would say it's like being on, you know, the ancient mariner's ship, drifting, kind of listlessly nowhere, not going anywhere, and just lying there waiting for it all to end.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good comparison. I think there are 2 things going on fundamentally with the United Kingdom, without getting into too much political philosophy. But I think there are 2 things fundamentally going on. One is a collapse of self-confidence by our governing class in the country and in themselves, a belief that they should be running everything at a kind of global level, and therefore not making decisions with British national interest in mind. They don't really care about our history, our culture, our values, our language, because they see their job as working in this kind of global community. And it's because they don't care about the nation state that actually they let immigration run rampant, that they don't chart very clear policies which put British interests first. I mean, you could stop the boats overnight if you wanted to. With a bit of backbone, you just police our borders in the way that we used to police them 100 years ago. You just wouldn't let boats pass.
No.
That would be it. You would solve the labour problem we've got fundamentally by deregulating, cutting taxes on the working and middle classes. I'm not talking about cutting it on the rich. I'm talking about the working and middle classes, taking lots of people out of the tax net. You'd probably put a freeze on benefits just to make sure there's a proper gap between benefits, and the net wage that you get from working. You would cut taxes on corporations so that it actually paid to run a company. At the moment, we have one of the highest tax rates in Europe. You would do all these things to make the United Kingdom fighting fit and a proud nation. But I don't think they see their job as that. They see their job as kind of delivering these, fundamentally social. I call it socialist, other people call it progressive, socialist, progressive, almost communist kind of approach to governance. But then there's the other thing going on, the listless sort of approach to governance that you mentioned, where, I think we've got at this particular moment in time, we've got a government that is just coasting. Rishi Sunak, his idea of providing stability is actually doing nothing. It's not even managed decline. It's just kind of just sitting back and just hoping the ship rights itself somehow.
But this is the thing.
I think these are the 2 fundamental problems that are going on.
Yeah, but that's the point. But nobody seems capable of grappling with any of the problems. It's always we tried to fix it, but we couldn't. Stopping the boats. We're going to stop the boats. This was January. By the time we got to, end of August, I don't think we can. Same in January, we're going to bring down the NHS waiting list. Yesterday, I don't think we're going to be able to do that now. Well, why not? do it. Just promise something and then get on with it and do it. The same with the corporate world. It seems to me that companies now have sort of given up the ghost on what they're supposed to do. You know, people running places like Wix more concerned about not having bigots shopping there than actually selling things and making a profit. You know, ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good point you make, and I didn't touch on it from what I was saying. You know, our entire private sector has been hijacked by socialism through the requirement to deliver environmental, social governance policies, and for social, you know, read diversity, equality and inclusion, which basically means mediocrity. You will give up the pursuit of a meritocratic profit motive, a meritocratic-based profit motive in the private sector in order to promote minorities, whatever that minority is, whether it's ethnic, religion, sexual orientation, gender identification. You know, we've become a really weird country. Yeah. And unless we develop, what we've got to do is go back to where we were 30 years ago and just junk all this socialist progressive nonsense and be unashamedly proud of being British, be unashamedly proud of putting forward British national interest. So we make policies for our benefit. Yeah. The other day, Rishi Sunak tweeted that he was at the G7. It was a few months ago. He tweeted, "We mustn't compete with our friends." Of course you've got to compete with your friends.
Why not?
Why not? Why would you tweet that you don't want to compete with other G7 countries? Of course we have to. That is the inherent nature of being an independent country. We compete for the betterment of our people. Yeah. That's the point. You know, and so it's just lost. You know, we've got to just pare it back. And, you know, the wake-up call, for example, from Nigel Farage being debanked should have been to bin ESG, to bin politically exposed persons legislation, to remove it from the landscape. But instead, what they talked about was making sure everyone has a bank account and introducing more regulations. What we need is less regulations. We need, to the extent that we make regulations, they've got to be for our interest, and we've got to reduce taxes on the poor, working and middle classes who keep getting nailed. Every bad step the government makes nails the working and middle classes. They get affected much more by ULEZ charges. They get affected much more by transport costs going up. They get affected much more by the incessant drive towards net zero. They get affected much more by low-cost, unskilled immigration taking their jobs away, you know, and they are the bulk of the United Kingdom. So, you know, if you believe in democracy, if you believe in championing those that put you in office, those are the people you have to look after. But all of this seems to be lost on our government.
It really is. I mean, I'm not even sure we have a government anymore. They haven't done anything for so long. They might as well not bother. Listen, Ben, I'm sorry we're out of time, but we've got much more to talk about. I'm sure we will talk again soon, where hopefully we might have some better news for you.